Hey, welcome to Keight Krafts. I'm Keight. Today I would like to share with you the second project that I recently made for YourNextStamp. Let's get started. The stamp set that I chose to use today is the Holiday Wreath stamp and die set from YourNextStamp. Now, this was a lot of fun to work with because it was kind of out of my element, if you will. I ended up using a few tools in this video that I've never really had much experience with before, so please bear with me. You're witnessing probably my second attempt on this one. So I'm just taking my Versamark ink here and inking up my image, and then I'm going to add some black embossing powder. Now, I've stamped this out a few times because I really wasn't sure how well the first time was going to go for me. So, while I had all this out, I thought I would just heat emboss a few extra images just in case. And, if I don't use them, then I've got extra ones for later. So I'm hitting them all with my heat tool, and I've gone ahead with the coordinating die, and I've cut that out off screen. And I'm going to be going in with a mixture of things here. Now, I'm literally using what I have, with the exception of the Zig Clean watercolor. I actually went out earlier in the afternoon when I was making this card and talked to Katrina from Beatniks about what other mediums that I could use, because I didn't have bullet tip nibs on my Copics, and these are a lot smaller images than what I'm used to. So I wasn't feeling too confident in being able to use my alcohol inks on this, and she had suggested the Zig Clean Real Brush watercolor pens, and I thought, well, why not? So I grabbed a couple that she had in stock, and I kind of mixed them in with some of the distress ink that I'm using here, and it kind of worked out. I mean, I tried using the water brush pen by itself, but I felt that I couldn't exactly control the amount of water that I was using with it. Now, I'm in no way skilled in watercolor. I mean, I probably haven't watercolored in, maybe 25 years, so I'm severely rusty. And going off of some of the videos that I've watched in the past, I was just kind of winging it. So, I'm sorry if this seems really amateur. It really is. But all I'm doing is diluting the color here that I already have on my... Oh, and that's a piece of acetate. I didn't want to put it all over my Make Art station, so I just grabbed a scrap piece of acetate that had been scratched that I wasn't using, and I kind of used it as a palette. So I'm just kind of blending in my colors just to kind of get something a little bit darker here to show contrast in the browns, or at least shading in the browns is what I was trying to go for. And this is kind of what I'm working with. And next I'll get into the Zig Clean watercolor real brushes, which I thought were kind of neat. And overall, I think they were a good choice for this image. And speaking of this image, if you haven't watched my last video that I did for YourNextStamp project, perhaps this would be a good time to tell you a little bit about their company. Now, their company is located in Waterloo, Ontario, which some of you may or may not know is my province, and they're actually not that far from me. I believe a couple of hours drive for me to go up there. It's been a while since I've gone up to Waterloo, but they've been in operation officially since 2009, so I'm thinking about 13 years. They have lots of different stamp sets with coordinating dies, background dies. Like they're a cute little company, if you ask me, and I'm not being biased or anything. I had actually stumbled across YourNextStamp, I believe it was like Instagram or something, one of their little Instagram posts where they were doing a giveaway, and I ended up winning the giveaway. And I don't know, I thought they were a really neat company, and the neat thing about them is that I had recognized some of their products because I see them in some of the makes that certain stores that I follow do, and it was kind of like, oh, I know that stamp set. That's pretty cool. So I was kind of thrilled to know that they're from my province, and they've got a lot of really cool stuff, and I have to say that their prices on their items are rather reasonable. So if you haven't gone to check them out, you might want to go check them out. And while you're checking them out, you might want to go read their blog, because they've got another blog post with a little bit more about me and the project that I did, as well as the project that I did previously for them last week at the time of this recording. And of course, while you're over there, you can't forget about their challenges. They have a bi-weekly challenge, which means they have a challenge every other week, and you can enter up to 3 cards that you've made, or 3 projects. I don't think they're limited to cards. I think they allow scrapbook layouts as well, but I'm not very versed at all in scrapbook layouts and terminology, so I deal mainly with cards. So you can enter three cards for the challenge every 2 weeks, and you have a chance to win a gift certificate to the store. Now, you don't have to use their products in order to enter, but it is a bonus if you do. I think they bump up the gift card if you're using some of their products or something. Or if you're lucky, in my case, I was approached and asked if I would be willing to do some guest design work, which, as some of you may or may not know, I'm very new to this world of card making and YouTube and design team and all the fun stuff that ties in together with it. I mean, my channel started just this past February of 2022, so I'm still a rookie, still quite the newbie in the line of cards. So, for those of you who have been with me for a while, thank you for navigating with me in this world of card making. I've been a little bit blind with some help here and there, and I appreciate each and every one of you stopping in and watching and commenting and liking or subscribing. If you would be interested in doing that, then now might be a good time to do so. And I'll make sure too to leave all of YourNextStamp links in the description box below, to their blog, to their store, to to their social media, and I'll also leave a list of all the items that I've used in today's video. So we're rounding off the end. For those of you who haven't skipped through or have skipped through, this is what's rounding off with the watercoloring. This was kind of an interesting adventure for me. I ended up doing this. This was my second attempt at this. And my first attempt was just, I didn't know what I was doing until I got the hang of it and had to edit that bit out because that was just a sorry mess. So here is the last touches of my watercoloring, and I'm just building up the color here and then going back over with my paintbrush. Now, I touch it on the paper towel just to kind of eliminate some of the excess water so I'm not oversaturating. And once I'm happy with how that's turned out, this is my completed image. So, it was alright. Now for the next step. This one I could have left out, but I probably would have had a hard time trying to explaining what I mean. So, I've got this scrap piece of 110-pound cardstock. Off camera, I've already gone ahead and cut it out 7 times. And for my 8th time cutting it out, what I'm doing here is just kind of giving me a visual of where I need to cut. So I'm going to do some partial die cutting is what it is. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my cutting plate right up to that edge where I don't want to cut, and I'm going to run that through my die press. So once I've run it through there, it won't cut all the way through, and you can see here in a minute on the back what I mean. So when I flip that over, you could see how it's partially cut. Now I'm just going to rotate that and complete and do the same thing over again, and I'll keep going around until I've completed the cut. And I haven't cut out the center bit of it, is what I'm trying to get at here. So I'm doing all this partial die cutting just so I don't get that center cut out of it, because I don't want you to be able to see through, because this is going to be a shaker. And I mean, I could have just glued this to the top of the card, or the front of the card, I should say. But I wanted to take it an extra step further because, like my first video, I kind of wanted to think outside of the box. Now, I've seen them do shaker cards with this particular stamp set before, but I thought it would be kind of neat to take it one step further and turn it basically into an ornament. So all I'm doing is taking one of the rings and kind of measuring out how big my acetate piece needs to be. And I'll cut that down just to be a little bit smaller than the circle itself, but still able to adhere everything. So I've taken a piece of Scotch tape just to kind of hold it together, and I'm going to go around with some very sharp scissors and just cut the edges off. And then once I've got that, then I'll just kind of take it down in little increments. I don't want to take it down too much because I still want to be able to have that inner circle of these blank pieces here to be able to be covered. So once I'm happy with the size of my acetate, I mean, you could also use a circle die, but I didn't have a circle die at hand. So I'm going to take some glue and I'm going to glue around the wreath cutout. And then I'm going to take my acetate piece and I'm going to glue that down. Then I'll add some more tape runner and I will add some more glue, and then I will be able to tape that down. Now I want this to be extra strong and sticky. Not sticky, but you know what I mean. I want the layers to stick together good. I didn't want to use foam tape. I mean, I probably could use foam tape for this, but I kind of liked the look of layering up all of these die cuts and creating more of a secure, I guess, well. I mean, I didn't end up using any glitter because I didn't want it to be too staticky. I ended up using these little chunky gold pieces. I believe they were probably from Michael's a long time ago. I think I got in a kit that, I don't know, they gave you shaker bit elements or something and a whole bunch of little tiny jars and stuff like that so you could mix and match or create your own mix, and I ended up not using it all, and you know, I use it for things like this. So now we're rounding off to the end where we're almost completed the wreath. So I've gone ahead and written in with some, I think it was the Sakura black glazed pen, so it's a little bit dimensional, and I let it sit off camera to dry so I didn't smear it. And all I'm doing is gluing them together and then setting them underneath the block for a minute, just so they have some time and they're not curling up or moving around or anything like that. So once I've done all of that, I need kind of like a string, if you will, to hold it. So I've got this really, really fine, I don't know what you call it, the yarn you make doilies with. Thread. This isn't exactly floss because you can't really embroider with it, but I have a whole bunch of spools or skeins of doily yarn. I can't even think of the name of it. I don't know. If you know the name, let me know in the comments, because my terminology with crochet is I make this loop and I make that loop and then I put these loops together and then I double back for that loop. I can't read. I can't read crochet terminology, so it's kind of me just winging it as I go. So I've gone ahead and made a chain of, I don't know how many, and I'm just going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to double back on the loops and the holes, and I'm going to make sure that that's all nice and secure tight, so that way I can adhere it to my ornament. So I'm just going to take some double-sided tape, some tape runner, and I'm going to tape that down in place, and I don't want those little thread bits to show out the bottom, so I'm going to add more tape, and then I'm going to make sure that that's nice and stuck, and I'm going to add some more glue, and then I'm going to add more glue to one of the rings here that I've got doubled up on. Now I want to make sure that that's going to sit in there nice and tight, so that way it'll be stuck there for years to come and it won't pull out, you know, at least not for a long time. So I'll put that under the block, go away for a bit and make a coffee, come back, and then I will add in some shaker bits. Now, I was going to add in some of these little micro seed beads, but I didn't. I didn't want to put too much in there, and I thought that gold would look just fine. I thought about glitter, but I know how staticky glitter can be. So I added in a little bit of anti-static powder from my tool here, and I could see it was kind of cloudy. And then I just kind of moved that around the edges just to make sure that there wasn't any sticky bits, so that way the little gold flakes wouldn't be stuck to anything. And that's what I'm doing there, just picking up some of the powder with my brush, and then I'm going to take my microfiber cloth and just kind of buff everything out. So I think once I'm happy with that, I'm going to take some of these little gold flakes, and I don't even know what they are. I think they're gold flakes. They're a little bit heavier than just like tin foil or anything like that. Not tin foil, tinsel. So they've got a little bit of heft for them, but not that much. But they do make like a little bit of a sound when you shake them around. So once I'm happy with the amount that's in there, I will pat that down and make sure that I've got enough room, that I'm not squishing anything out. And I'm going to ever so lovingly go around the edges to make sure that there is a thin trail of glue, but not too thick that, you know, it's going to ooze out into the shaker itself and have stuff stuck to it. And then once I get around the edges, then I'll put on a little bit of a thicker glob to make sure that everybody is stuck and nothing's coming out and we have a cute little ornament. So once I'm happy with the amount of glue, I will add some tape runner on the inside. Whether or not this is going to do anything is neither here nor there, but I sometimes like to overglue stuff. So I'm going to line that all up nice and neat and mash everything down together, and I'm going to set a block on that and let it sit for a bit. Now for the inside of the card, I've taken a piece of the pattern paper from YourNextStamp's Holly Jolly 6x6 paper pad, and I've cut it down to be a little bit smaller than an A2 size panel, and I'm going to mount that on top of a black piece of cardstock. So I've got that 1/8 of an inch border, and then I will put that down on my card base, and this will be the front of my card. Now, I end up taking another wreath that I did off camera and gluing it onto the card base itself. You'll see at the end what I mean. That way, when the recipient takes the ornament off, that they'll have still a pretty card to look at. And for the sentiment, I'm taking I think it's the it's the Happy Holidays sentiment from the Holiday Wreath stamp set in the little banner die, which, I don't know, I really think this little stamp is cute, and I could see myself getting some use out of it. Even just by itself, it's cute. I rather like this type of banner with the little flags on the end like that. And because I have it out, I might as well stamp it out twice, just in case something happens to the first one. I kind of like being able to stamp the sentiment and then adding the banner afterwards, and then reversing the process. I mean, you could probably mass produce a bunch of these just doing it this way, but I'm just doing two for just in case. I'll throw the other one into the stamp bag with the other ones that I've cut out. So as you can see here, I've already stamped and cut out that bit. And I'm just going to add a little bit of watercolor just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing here. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because we don't need to sit through that again. But I'll set that off to the side to dry. And I'll add a little bit of dimension with my N1 marker. This is my Copic marker. Just to kind of give the flag edge of the banner a little more dimension. Not much because I don't want to take away too much from it. But I'll add in some tape runner, and then I'll add in a little bit of glue, and we are going to adhere that to the front of my card base. And because I'd be nowhere without these, I will use my reverse tweezers and my mat to kind of give me an idea of where I need to line that up. Now the next step, how am I going to adhere this to the card itself? So I had this idea of taking some washi tape and then maybe using the banner die to cut out the washi tape, but I'm not 100% sure about it. I mean, I wasn't sure if it would cut all the way through or if I would have some tearing issues, so I was at the home stretch. I was tired. I didn't want to mess around with this, so I ended up just cutting out a strip and then folding it in half but not creasing it, and then just doing a little flag cut so you get almost like a ribbon effect. And I chose washi tape because when the recipient decides that they want to take it off, or if they want to take it off, then this won't be tearing into anything and they can still keep the card. So all I'll do is take the release tape off the back of the washi tape and stick that down, and all that's left to do is to add the permanent wreath to my card. And this concludes my card. So here's the card with just the wreath itself, and here is the card with the shaker or wreath ornament. I really enjoyed working on this second project for YourNextStamp, and I really hope you do go and check them out. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.